Real people, real opinions, Real Talk Radio. The multi-award-winning Niall Boylan Show.
Ireland's classic hits.
I want to get your thoughts on IVF and whether you believe it should be free for all couples who are struggling. Eileen, you're on Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Eileen?
How you doing, Niall? How are you?
Good. People are kind of less than charitable here, and they're texting in saying, absolutely not. You know, that why should taxpayers have to pay for somebody else's child? Look, we do that anyway with children's allowance, and we do it with all sorts of things. So, I mean, it is expensive, Eileen, isn't it?
I'll tell you something, it's very expensive, and I know for a fact because my own niece paid nearly a deposit on a house to get pregnant.
Yeah.
And like every bit of her savings, and then borrowed as well to try and get a bit. She had a beautiful baby boy anyway. But after a lot of goes, after a lot of injections, after being sick, after, a lot of things. But why shouldn't women be given the choice? People should be allowed to have babies. And so what? We pay for everything else. We pay for everyone else coming into the country. So I know it's a different topic, but Mum,
we're going back to the last topic again.
The government can fork out. The government can fork out to subsidise all our taxpayers' money on different things. Why shouldn't a woman be given the right to have a child?
But here's the thing, and here's the big question, because everybody would like to have a baby. Well, most people would like to have a baby or have a family, right? Because it's a kind of maternal instinct, isn't it? But is it a right to have a child? I mean, if you can't conceive, IVF only came along about 40, 50 years ago and made it so much easier for people who couldn't conceive to conceive. But is it a right to have a child?
And you know what the thing is as well? Everyone wants to have a child. I don't know whether everyone does.
Not everybody, but most people do, yeah.
And I would have kept going if I could have, but everyone, and then there's an awful lot of people that can't adopt, so people should be given the right,
Well, adoption is equally as expensive. I mean, they cost you 30 grand to adopt a child because you can only reach it from a foreign country.
But I'm saying, I don't understand people saying, why should we pay it? Why should we do this? Why should we do that? Take your hand out of your pocket, and don't be so smarmy. Give people the choice of bringing another child into the world, bringing another human being in, someone that they're going to love and treasure forever. Why would you begrudge somebody that? I just don't understand.
I find that the people that would begrudge it or that would say no are those who probably have 3 or 4 kids and get pregnant quite easily. So it's not a bother to them. It's no problem. They've never experienced what it's like not to be able to have a child or not to be able to conceive or to have miscarriage after miscarriage or whatever it is. They've never experienced that.
I know, and it's so hard as well. I've had a brother-in-law as well, him and his partner as well. They end up splitting up over having trying to. It does break my. Do you know what it is? Because it's the worry of having to try to get the money up. It's the worry of trying to pay our bills and still try to do your IVF. It's actually I have to be honest with you. The government really is a joke in this country, but it should be really free for everybody. It should be free for people. It should be there as an option. If you can't have a child, we will help you out.
If you can't
People
afford it,
shouldn't have to be put under the stress of having to try and get money up to try and, to get pregnant. They shouldn't have to be put under the stress of, paying bills, paying a mortgage, working God knows how many hours to try and just have a child, when they can't have them. Some people are lucky. I was blessed. I was able to have 5 children. I know a lot of other people were blessed. That doesn't happen for everybody.
How old are your children now, Eileen? How old are your children now?
One is 35, one is 33, one is 27, one is 21 on Saturday, and one is 17.
You don't sound that old, Eileen.
Do you know what?
You sound like you're a young one. Yeah, well, you have your whole life behind you.
I'm 53.
Well, I have to say, Eileen, fair play to you, 5 kids. I had 3 and I know what that was like. So I can only imagine what it's like with 5. Sorry, boys and girls or a mixture of both? Or what was it?
I've 1 boy and I've 4 girls.
Oh,
and what? They're all healthy, thank God.
Yeah, but girls are expensive.
I could have got pregnant at a sneeze. Where there's people out there that really, really desperately want, and it's, looking at people, I even looked at me.
What was that saying my mother used to say years ago? She only has to look at it and she gets pregnant.
I know. Give over. But come here, no. But it is. It's very sad when you look at some people and how desperate they are and how, the despair in them, when they go.
I know. Yeah, I don't know. I can only imagine. I can imagine what it's like. It must be horrible.
Yeah, do you know what? I never begrudge anybody anything. And do you know what? If it was to me to give somebody joy and somebody that really, really wants a child, I'd never begrudge anybody. It's just, unfortunately, there's an awful lot of people out there that it's just become too late to have to have children because they couldn't afford IVF.
Yeah.
Whereas they've never been given the option of, here we'll help out, or even if it was to pay part of the money. It really is very sad. And I tell you, if anyone comes on the show and disagrees with me, by God, give me that number, because I'll tell you now, I'll hound them.
I'll give you their address, Eileen, and you can go visit. Visit them with your kids. You and your children. Stay there for a second, because Oisin, you better not disagree with Eileen. Oisin, here, you're going to be in trouble here. Oisin,
like, come on, Eileen, you.
You bet me to it. No, I honestly think it should be free. I mean, we've all heard horror stories of couples who have gone through 3, 4, 5 rounds, and it's cost them an arm and a leg. And as Eileen said there, rightfully, some couples just break up because the stress of it, the money, the financial side, we've done all this and nothing is happening. I mean, I was blessed. I've 2 children myself.
I know. I knew a guy years ago, right? He was a friend of mine. He's not a friend of mine anymore. Not because of this, but he's just not a friend of mine anymore, for other reasons. But he broke up with his wife because they found out she couldn't have children. They were only married 3 years, and she couldn't have children for whatever reason. And IVF wouldn't have even worked because, unfortunately, she was infertile, and she couldn't have children. And he broke up with her because of that. He left her for another woman, and he allegedly loved her to bits. But he abandoned her because he said, and he admitted to it all. He said it to us, all his mates and everything. He says, I want a family. He says, why would I stay with her? I can't have children. And I felt like saying to him, you bastard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Imagine she was already gutted at the thoughts that she couldn't have children. And then he goes and leaves her.
It's basically throwing someone aside. It's like throwing someone in the bin and going, you're not worth it.
Yeah. What a horrible thing to do to somebody. Yeah.
No, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. I honestly believe, free. 100% free. And I mean, look, there could be things put in place whereby you pay X amount for, depending on
your financial circumstance. Your
circumstances, I mean, if it works for you and it works okay, well then, I don't mean like a payment plan. I'm not talking, nonsense like that now. But if that was an option, couples could actually afford to spread out a payment over whatever. Where you're not faced with these horror stories of like 30, 40, 50, 60, 70,000, 80,000 euro, or you have to go abroad to do it.
Yeah.
And some couples really, really, really want a child, and for whatever reason, they just cannot conceive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's horrible on the couples because, they're fit, they're healthy, they're trying their best, they're active, and nothing happens. There's got to be nothing more soul destroying than.
And by the way, sometimes, because I was aware of this other couple many years ago as well, sometimes there's nothing wrong with either party. It's just they're not sexually compatible or reproductively compatible. That can happen between a couple.
It actually can. I was like that with my ex years and years ago, whereby a doctor actually explained it. And she said it very, very eloquently. She said, it's like throwing a ball on a wall. Unless there's Velcro, it ain't sticking.
Yeah, and basically what it is the woman's egg is rejecting the sperm because...
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I know that wasn't a great way of putting it, but her analogy was you got to throw a ball. Not so much a ball, but you can picture it in your head already.
Yeah.
The ball has to stick.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's just not happening for the two of you. And it's because
and in that case, that guy could go off and have a baby with somebody else, and she could go off and have a baby with another man. But it's just that they're not sexually compatible, or that just can happen sometimes.
And I'll be quite honest with you. My ex is now quite happily married with 2 kids. With a new partner. Now, when I say quite happily, she is quite happy, and we just weren't sexually we were.
Reproductively.
But as regards having children, we weren't. We just weren't. It just didn't happen.
Yeah.
We broke up for different reasons, but it wasn't because we couldn't have kids.
And so no matter what, do you believe no matter what your circumstance, it should be just like on the NHS, it should be just on the HSE to pay for that, to cover that?
I think it should. I really do, because couples are strapped enough as it is.
Yeah. And look, you're not going to get out of it for less than 10 grand.
No, you're not. You're not. No.
I mean,
100%
Eileen
you're
mentioned
not.
it cost her niece the price of a deposit on a house. You know what I mean? So I'm assuming, Eileen, you mean about 20 or 30 grand there?
Probably more.
How much, do you know offhand how much it was, Eileen, roughly?
I think she paid, I don't know how much she paid for the IVF, but I know it was over 20,000 in any way.
Yeah, she went back a couple of times, obviously.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
then, and then you have to get the anti-rejection drugs.
The only thing is she has eggs, they have eggs left, so she can go again, and I don't think it costs if
as
she goes
much,
again.
yes.
And,
and by the way, I didn't know until recently.
But it is, you know,
I didn't know this till recently, but when you have eggs left and they freeze them, they charge you per month to keep them.
Yeah, it's cryogenic.
I wasn't too sure.
Yeah,
But,
it's like 20 quid a month.
It's very soul destroying as well. You know, like there's an awful lot of couples that go that mentally, like especially for a woman. Like I know myself when I thought I was pregnant and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm delighted, and everything. You all walked up for it, and then when you got your period, excuse me, but you'd be so destroying, like So you can imagine for somebody that's going through all this IVF and they're waiting, and then they're just told, no, sorry, not this time.
Well, do me a favour, stay there for a second because I want to bring Angela and John in as well. Angela, you're in Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, Angela?
Hi, Niall. How are you?
Good. Angela, everyone deserves a chance, you believe?
Absolutely. Now, the only thing I will say is, yes, it's extremely expensive, and I think everyone deserves a chance, and everyone deserves a second chance. So, I think maybe 2 or 3 rounds of IVF would be good, because for some couples it will just never happen.
Yeah.
And you can just keep going and keep going and keep going. And it does cost a lot of money. So I think that I don't.
But see, what we're suggesting here is, and we're all kind of agreeing, except for John, who's going to come on in a second. But what we're suggesting is that it's a right of some description. Is it a right to have a child, for a woman to have a child? Is that a right, a human right?
It is a human right, because if you look at it, that's what practically women are here for.
Well, if we don't have children, it's the end of civilization, isn't it? I suppose eventually.
Exactly.
Eileen is keeping civilization going there with 5 of them. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a few people out there can just keep the whole of the world going.
If we had more Eileens, we'd be more overpopulated.
Yeah. Exactly. We'd be like China here. But because I can't have kids. You know what I mean?
And I'm so sorry to hear that. And I know you would have loved children.
I would have. Listen, when I got married, we would have loved kids. And back then, you couldn't do it in Ireland. And this isn't too long ago. This was only 2009. And I got the cancer in 2010. And back then, the only way that you could have done IVF was if it was a sibling under the age of 36.
Oh, you didn't know that.
Yeah. Otherwise, you had to go to Spain or Croatia. And you're looking at the budget of like 25 grand.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
That's per go. And that's not including flights, hotels, the cost of having to take off work. And I know...
And did you ever consider adopting, Angela?
That's feckin' expensive as well.
Well, I know it's about 30 grand, but did you when you were married, did you consider that?
It was something we would have looked into. We did speak about, but my ex, I don't think he was too gone on it.
Okay.
And I do, to be very
Well,
honest,
I understand that. Some people feel that way about it. Yeah.
That is, do you know what I mean? And I think that's contributory to our separation and divorce, along with everything else. I think that was one of the main factors. And I as far as I know now, his partner at the moment, I've heard they have a child, and I'm delighted for him.
Right.
Because he was able to bring a child into the world with someone else, and that's great. You can't but be happy for someone like that.
Do me a favour, both of you. Stay there for a second, because I just want to go to John as well. John, you're in Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, John?
How you doing, Noel? How you doing, Radio Land?
And Eileen, you can say hello to Eileen and Angela too, and be respectful of the ladies that are present.
Not really.
How you doing, John?
Not really.
John, how are you?
Okay, so John,
Right.
do you believe taxpayers shouldn't have to fund it?
You had 3 callers on there who said, yes, the taxpayers should go out and fund all this IVF treatment. No. Why should a taxpayer fork out for somebody else's kid to have a kid?
Why not,
Now,
John?
you 2 women on there, you tell me that now. Those 2 women.
Yeah, why not,
a
John?
taxpayer tonight?
Why not, John?
Should.
Why not, John? Because we're able to fork out for
you
fucking
tell me
roads to
why
be done.
you should. I asked you a simple question. Why should a taxpayer fork out?
Why should we not give somebody a choice of to bring a new life into the world? Why should we not give a woman a choice of that? We're paying for roads. We're paying for new roads. We're paying for all these new bus lanes and all.
Hang on.
I am
you
a
want the taxpayer to pay for somebody else's kid today?
I wouldn't have a problem. Wouldn't have a problem. I'd rather my money go to see somebody bring a life into this world than rather it's getting a bleeding bus lane or a new cycle lane put in Dublin.
Why has the taxpayer to always fork out for somebody else's kid today?
Yeah, 100%.
Well, can I ask you something? Hang on, both of you for a second. John, you're going on about taxpayers quite a lot there, okay?
Yes.
Eileen produced 5 taxpayers. So Eileen, as well as paying tax herself, she produced 5 more taxpayers. So pregnancy produces a taxpayer.
Let me put this simply to you and those 2 women there tonight.
Yeah.
The taxpayers in this country, as you rightly say, pay for absolutely everything.
Well, that's their job, yeah.
They pay for immigration. They pay for social welfare.
Yep.
They pay for everything that the government...
Hospital services, education, the roads, everything.
For nothing.
Yeah.
Now,
well, who else is going to pay for it? The ferry, Tooth Ferry.
Oh yeah, hang on. Now, a woman wants to have IVF treatment. Oh, she can pay for that too.
John, can I ask you
you'd deprive a woman of having a child.
If you went to the doctor tomorrow, John, with erectile dysfunction, because you couldn't have sex anymore and you weren't enjoying sex because and it was affecting your anxiety and everything else, I would expect the doctor to look after you. And if you needed to go to a hospital in relation to it for some sort of treatment, I would expect them to look after you. Now, I don't have erectile dysfunction, and I don't care if you enjoy your sex life. But I do believe, as a taxpayer, I'm responsible.
Would I expect the taxpayer to pay for
Yes, you should.
Can I?
No, I shouldn't. That's the point.
Yeah, go ahead, Angela. Go ahead, Angela.
John, I'd just like you to calm down first a little bit, okay?
No, because I am sick of you telling the taxpayers to pay for everything.
No, hold on a second. I'm not telling the taxpayer to pay for everything.
Well,
have you kids?
No, let her finish. Let her finish, John.
IVF treatment, the taxpayer should pay.
John.
Let her finish.
John, have you kids?
No.
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 Can you have?
No.
You can't.
Say again?
Can you have kids?
Can you have?
Yes, I can have kids.
You can, but
yes,
it's a choice that you haven't.
And would I expect the taxpayer to pay for them? No.
No.
Is the next
John,
answer to your question.
You're not listening to me. John, is it your choice not to have kids?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you and your partner have decided you're not going to have kids.
I don't think he has.
Yeah, and if we do, we do, and if we don't, we don't. Yeah, go on. Would I still expect the taxpayer to pay for them? No.
The thing is, John, would you stop cutting over me? The thing is, that choice was taken away from me. Okay?
Yeah.
That choice was taken away from me. And if somebody or the government were going to say, do you know what? We're going to help you get what you want.
Well, hang on there for a minute now. Can I just cut across you for 1 minute? The government say they're going to help people with this, that and the other, and we're going to fund this one. Who's funding it? Is it the government or the taxpayer?
We know it's John. We know it's the taxpayer. The government. The government are not putting their hands in their pocket and paying for everything. Of course, it's taxpayers' money. But John, hang on. You said. Now, I just want to clarify something here. You said if I had children, I wouldn't expect the taxpayer to pay for them, right? Okay. No. So let's say tomorrow you decided to have a child, right? And you had a little child tomorrow. So that child then has to go into a creche, has to go into a school, and I turn around to you and I say, "Oh yeah, we want you to pay for the child's education." Are you happy to do that? Because everybody else gets it for free.
I pay for it, yes.
So you'd pay thousands because you know how much education actually costs. It's paid for by the taxpayer, by the government. We get free education in this country. So are you willing to pay for it because you don't want the taxpayer to fund it? And we won't give you any children's allowance either because that's taxpayers' money as well.
If that's taxpayers' money as well.
And tell you what, when your missus goes in to have the baby in the rotunda, we'll charge you for that at 800 quid a night as well. How's that sound? Taxpayers not going to pay for it.
Hang on. You posed a question, if I had a child tomorrow morning.
Yes.
Would I expect the taxpayer to pay for anything?
The taxpayer does pay. The taxpayer does pay, John. The taxpayer pays for your child's life, more or less, until they're 18 years of age.
No, the taxpayer doesn't.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't. No,
you get your every child in this country gets an education for free. That's the taxpayer is paying for it. They get health care for free. The taxpayer is paying for it.
Hang on.
Hang on.
You brought up the question of creche there. I, as a father, would pay for the creche for the child.
Why would you pay when the government give you a free school preschool year? Why would you pay?
Because it's my child, not society's.
But you're entitled to it. Everybody else gets it. The taxpayer pays for it.
You wouldn't take that for a year.
Shouldn't be paying for it. That's the
John,
point.
you wouldn't take that for a year. Are you telling me if you had a child that you would
He'd rather pay.
Yeah,
Mum would say to him in the crash, listen, this is free. It's the government pay for this year. You're grand, I'll pay.
No, I wouldn't.
And then the child starts in primary school and he says to the principal of the school, listen, I don't want any of that free education stuff for my child. I want to pay 3 or 4 grand a year for my child.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking to your arse now, John.
Do you know that the taxpayers have got you where you are?
Have got me where am I?
Where are you working?
Where exactly?
Are you working?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Oh, Jesus.
What are you living on?
But then what are you talking about paying the
Has
taxpayers?
that got anything to do with this?
Absolutely. What are you living on at the moment if you're not working?
You're not working, so who's paying your money? It's the taxpayer who's paying your money.
I'm not working.
Do we need to stop? But you go away, John. You're better off go on and watching something on the telly. Go on.
I'm not working.
Yeah, we'll get a bleeding job then.
So what are you doing, John?
Yeah, hang on.
Sitting around on your arse, getting paid by the taxpayers.
Hang on. I am not working because I have a leg that's damaged. I can't work.
Oh,
now,
so you're on disability. That's been paid by the taxpayers.
Number two is...
But can you not get out of this job and sit down and use your hands and your brain?
Number two is... Number two is if I bring a child into this world, I would pay for that child. I wouldn't expect
can we get back to number one? So you have a dodgy leg, unfortunately. And
I have a very, very dodgy leg.
Right, and you can't work because of the dodgy leg.
No.
Can you not work from home remotely, sitting behind a desk doing telesales or something like that?
No, I can't.
Because you have a big enough mouth, in fairness.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, so John, I'm assuming you're getting a disability payment.
John.
Well, hang on, I have to find out, Eileen. Hang on.
Oh, right. You walk away.
Yeah, you get a disability payment, John.
No, I'm not.
What are you living on? Fresh air?
I have applied.
So what are you living on?
I'm living on any normal social welfare.
Taxpayer.
Who pays for the social welfare?
So the taxpayers
The point is,
you walked yourself into it.
People have to live.
You're not my responsibility. I don't want my taxpayers' money going for you to sit in your bum all day, John. You're not my responsibility.
Niall?
I'm just saying, John. You're saying it's not your responsibility.
Why are you taking the taxpayers' money, so? Why are you taking it?
Hang on, Niall. Hang on, stop there for a minute now, right?
I'm stopping.
I get paid a flat amount of social welfare. I have to live as well as anybody else with bills.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Mm-hmm. Simple enough for you?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, go on.
No.
Is it? Is that simple enough for you?
No, so you're telling me if you brought a child into the world
I tell you what,
weren't working...
Should I go into... I tell you what, then,
he wouldn't be able to pay for it. He doesn't get the money.
Should I go in tomorrow morning and just say I live on nothing?
So,
should I do that?
So should a woman just go and say, I can't have a child, so that's just the end of it, so? Can't afford it.
Say again?
So if a woman can't have a child and can't conceive, but there is an option there to have IVF, but she doesn't have the money for it, the $6,000 initially for it, are you saying that's just tough?
Yes.
Well, then you sit in your house there, John. I'm not giving you any social welfare, and if you want to starve, that's just tough.
John, shame on you, seriously.
Yeah.
Shame on you.
John, on your
woman.
John, on your social welfare payment, if you brought a child into the world, you'd be able to pay for the creche, even though it could be free.
No, what I said to you was, if I brought a child into this world, hang on. Now, wish for a minute. I said to
you said
if
what
I
would
brought
my
a child into this world, if I brought a child into this world, I would pay for the child. I wouldn't expect the taxpayer to do it.
And how are you going to do that if you're sitting on your hole on? How are you going to do that if taxpayers are paying for your money and then send the child to creche? I'm telling you, that poor child's going to be living on beans on toast if you can even afford it.
The point of the matter is,
the
point you're saying to people tonight that every taxpayer out there, leaving me aside now, you are telling every taxpayer out there tonight that if a woman wants to have a child today through IVF, that the taxpayer should automatically just blankly pay.
Okay, well, I tell you what, hold on. I think John might have some backup here. Hang on. Well, no, hang on, all three of you. Just stay there.
Woman in Ireland.
Okay, hang on, Eileen.
Can't conceive a child.
The taxpayer should just blankly pay for every IVF treatment in Ireland.
Okay, well, hang on. Okay, can you all just hang on for a second? James, you're in Ireland's Classic Hits Radio. How you doing, James?
How's it going, man?
How's it going, James?
Oh, James!
Don't be welcoming him in. He's not going to agree with you. But go on, James.
How's everyone? Nice to be back.
Okay, it's good to hear your voice again, James. It's been quite a while.
It's been a while now.
Yeah, but you had a dodgy phone there for a little while. We couldn't hear you very well. But go on anyway, James.
You've been starved of my intellect.
I wouldn't have gone that far now, in fairness. All right. So, James, is it the duty of the taxpayer to pay for IVF treatment for people who find themselves in a very sad situation where they can't conceive?
I wouldn't say so previously, but okay, from family experience with the brother and his partner, they've spent the guts of 20 grand over the last 2 years trying, and I can see the anguish that they've gone through, and they've put a huge chunk of money into it, and it hasn't been successful for them. So potentially, probably after a couple of years when they've tried themselves, they should be entitled to some kind of.
Okay, so initially you believe they have to pay themselves.
Maybe try for the first or second round, but if it's
still expensive, that's 6 grand for the first go. You know?
Yeah, I know. At least, yeah, it's not. That's at least, and then all the.
Yeah, but John is pertains there that taxpayers shouldn't be funding it because it's not his responsibility to fund somebody else's child. But
it's not, Niall. Period.
Okay, we know what you said. Okay, sorry, James. Go ahead.
Yeah, well then listen to her if you know.
Hang on, John. Go ahead, James.
But John, let's be honest then, it's not my responsibility to fund you and help you with your medical bills and to keep you afloat and to keep you fed and to keep a roof over your head and to keep you lights on your head.
I have to live on something, don't I?
Get a job.
You know, James, I have to live on something, don't I?
Hang on, ladies.
I tell you what, will I just move on to the streets there tomorrow morning and live on nothing? Is that what you want me to do?
Well, I personally don't believe in that, but you do. You think that nobody should help anybody. But then there you are, getting help from everybody else. Kind of ironic, John, no? Do you not see the...
I'm getting help from everybody else.
Yes, sure.
I'm living on a simple payment, and I'm getting help from. I'm getting help from everybody.
A very small percentage of that payment, maybe a couple of cents, is mine. By the way, can I have it back? Seems you don't need it.
All right, I tell you what, Niall, tomorrow morning I'll go on the street and live on nothing. Then will that?
No, just send me back the 2 or 3 cents, the percentage that's mine. Because you don't deserve it.
Call us tonight there now, would it?
John.
Oh no, here's the point. Here's the point, guys. You aren't getting it. You're saying that the taxpayer should pay for everything, and the taxpayer doesn't have to pay for everything.
Sorry, James.
John, you're on.
Go ahead, James. Go ahead.
Right, John. Do you not see the irony of this? No,
he doesn't.
You're on that nobody should pay for anybody else's ills, while everybody else is paying for your ills. And then you're defending.
Let me put it like this here. Let me put it like this just now, right?
I know.
Well, no,
John,
James, let me put it like this for you.
John, you've had literally about 15, 20 minutes. Just give me a second, right? Okay? I'm not begrudging you that money, but I'm saying if the country operated by your philosophy, you'd be screwed. for medical bills, for your rent, for your electricity, for your food. So this whole idea that, fuck you, Jack, I'm all right. You're not all right. But you're espousing that ideology. It's bizarre.
Right. Do you want to answer that?
Yeah, go on, answer it, John. Answer it. Well, answer the question you just asked you. Do you not see the irony in what you're saying tonight?
No. There's no irony in it, because I'll tell you now exactly now, Niall. And you've heard me enough times now talking about stuff. Here's the point, right?
Yeah.
Number one, people on social welfare today need to live on something. That's number one. They're living, breathing. That's number one. They need to live on something today. People like me who have a leg, I can't walk with this leg. I need social welfare today, and that's it. There's nothing else I can do.
Are you not getting rent or anything?
Hang on. Number two on that. You have people out there today who are choosing to have a child and then expecting the taxpayer to pay for it. It wouldn't be a life and death situation.
John,
it would be the fact that they want to have a child and they want the state to pay for their IVF treatment. That's where I draw the line. Because the taxpayer, I'm not a taxpayer. If I was, I would say exactly the same thing today. Why should the taxpayer pay for everything?
Because it's an extortionate amount of money, and if these are people who are contributing to the country, and they are contributing to the next generation, who will, John, be taxpayers. Like,
but
you do
the point
understand.
I am saying to you is you are forcing a taxpayer. And I'll put it this way: if I was a taxpayer today, you're telling me I'd have to pay for somebody else's IVF treatment because it's the right thing to do.
He does not see the irony.
Suppose I don't agree with that.
John, I pay €1,000 tax, right, a month now on salary, right?
Do you agree with everything you pay for?
No, but I agree that the country needs taxes to be a functioning country. I think people need help. And especially with people with IVF treatment, it's an extortionate amount of money. And if they go 1, 2, 3 rounds privately and they're having no luck, it's a huge amount of money. They try it themselves. Would you not agree with something like that? I'm not saying anything.
But here's the thing. No, here's the thing, John. James pays his €1,000 unwillingly, like most people who pay tax. We don't. It's one thing you're sure of in life: death and taxes, right? But he realizes he's got 4 children. Those 4 children will require an education. So they'll go to primary school, which is free, apart from having to pay for books and things like that. They'll go to secondary school, which is free. If you were in the United States, you'd be paying quite heavily for that. They'll go to college, which will be subsidised by the state. $3,000 administration fee. Okay, it's $3,000 you don't want to pay, but it's still a lot less than you pay in some countries for a university degree. So his children will be looked after. He'll get children's allowance for those children, so he gets some of the money back again. So, in other words, he's contributing to pay for the services, for the lighting, for the roads that he drives those kids to school on, for the public parks those kids will play in, for all the services, maybe hospital services, the Crumlin Hospital, Temple Street Hospital, and all the services those children will use throughout their lives. And then what will happen is, John, those children will become 18 or 23 and get a job and then become taxpayers and pay for the next generation. That's the way society works.
When you have
you got a better
today,
idea?
Niall, when you have a kid today, whose responsibility is it?
It's your own, but in the Constitution of Ireland, the state also takes responsibility for your child and the well-being of your child.
So whose responsibility
it's
is
yours,
it
but you're paying tax for a reason. You pay tax into a social fund.
So that means the taxpayer is not responsible for the child.
Taxpayer is responsible, John. The taxpayer is responsible for everything that happens in this country. Everything.
And why should the taxpayer be responsible for
everything? If nobody paid tax tomorrow, the country would come to a standstill. You'd starve if the country came to, if there was no taxes paid tomorrow.
Years are going on. You might
actually have to go and get a job.
You might as well tell me to go out on the road and just do that. Just go out and starve anyway. The way you're carrying on there.
Yeah, the way we're carrying on.
Yeah.
I don't think he understands the concept of the economic money go round.
You understand one thing, Niall, that you're asking people through IVF today, and that's an expensive process today, medical process today, to fund yet another taxpayer's bill.
But you understand the point that is being made by everybody.
Yeah, another one.
Yeah, no, that money comes back to the government again. Every penny we spend comes back again. The money just stays in the country, generally speaking. It goes around in a circle.
Niall, if you put that to a referendum tomorrow morning, and I'm just saying now here, that you put to a referendum tomorrow, IVF treatment, should everybody in the country pay for it? How many people would pass that referendum? How many?
I think most people would vote yes.
Exclude the callers there tonight. How many would pass?
Well, if I go by the callers tonight, there's been 6 callers on and 5 of them disagree with you. Sorry.
John,
James, go ahead.
Not everything that we pay taxes for, it should just go towards survival. It's about compassion as well. You know, like
James,
people want to have...
The point I'm making is, look, when you pay somebody social welfare money, or you pay money to somebody who, I'll leave it with social welfare. If you pay somebody social welfare money, they're living on that. That's living money, right? Number one, they're living money. On it. So it's living on money. You pay the bills through whatever.
So what's the difference in living money?
Well, hang on there, Niall. Now, you have somebody who's going for IVF treatment.
Oh, God.
Why should the taxpayer pay for that? It's not necessary. To some people it may be, but to the wider society today, it isn't. That's the point I'm making.
Because it's an expensive treatment, John.
With that?
And people want to have children, and if they're functional individuals, they're contributing towards the state. They should get something back for them.
But James, okay, let me take up his argument just for a second, just to humour him, right? Now, hang on, John. Hang on, John. Just to humour John here, let me take up his argument for a second, right?
Don't your arse humouring me,
I'm just saying. Okay, but let me just take up his point on behalf of other people who might be... On behalf of other people at home that may agree with him, let me take up his point, right? Is it a human right to have a child? Now, you've got 4 of them, and luckily, thankfully, your wife was capable of getting pregnant, or your other half was capable of getting pregnant. So, in saying that, you're lucky, because 1 in 4 are not so lucky. And, you know, they find it difficult to conceive. But is it a right to have a child, James?
Yeah, I don't think it's a human right, no. No, I think it's a human right not to have birth prevented.
No, but let him answer the bloody question, will you? Sorry, go ahead, James.
I don't think it's... I think it's a human right not to have preventative measures imposed by the state on certain people so they can't have children.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yep.
I think that's a human right. But do I think it's a human right to have a child? I don't know. It kind of plays into the same argument I just said. Now, if somebody can't biologically have a child and they need help from the state, is that a human right? I wouldn't say so, but it's compassion.
See, it's not actually an illness. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No. Or an ailment.
No. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe. No, it is healthcare to some degree. Well, it is healthcare to some degree.
That's the point.
Just like erectile dysfunction or any other thing that is not completely necessary.
But that is the point, Niall. As I said, it is not a human right to have it. If you want to have
I know, but there's a lot of things we go to hospital for that are not a human right or necessary, but we go to hospital to make our lives and the quality of our lives better. Do you know what I mean?
No, the point about it is, Niall, you can't say, look, I'll put me tomorrow morning. I earn 100. I earn loads of money, and I don't earn anything because I'm not working, right?
Would you not get a job in a call centre sitting down with your dodgy leg?
But I'll tell you what. Take James is there. He's working, right? So James goes out tomorrow morning. The fact of the matter is, his taxes is going to pay for somebody who wants a child.
And like you, his taxes are going to pay for you too, by the way.
All right, as I said, you want me to live in the street or nothing then?
Do you want to give James back some of his? Do you want to give James back some of his money?
Yeah,
I want to give James back some of his money.
Yeah, give him.
I'll tell you what,
there's a small percentage of that is James's money too, but he doesn't mind paying it. You're missing the point, John.
On the street for nothing.
Jesus.
John, but I don't mind helping you out, John. You know what I mean?
No. Hang on there for 1 minute. Hang on there for 1 minute. Hang on there for 1 minute, James. Hang on there for 1 minute.
Right.
Now, the smart arse the statues are. And listen to this now.
Sorry, John.
Go on. I'll wait till you're finished now, right? Go on. As I said, right?
Okay, go on.
Go on.
Okay, as I said, I'm being serious now, Niall. If you want your clowns there to laugh, keep laughing.
No,
I'm being serious here.
No, I'm serious. Go on.
You're always at people who's on social welfare.
I'm not. I've got a minute to go to the break. Make it quick, will you?
You've always been down on people on social welfare.
Christ.
You've always mocked them.
Oh, he's taking the argument.
The point of the matter is people A social welfare payment helps people to live.
Of course
That's
it does.
Basic functions.
You're missing the point. Nobody, hang on. Nobody is having a go at you for being on social welfare. All James is saying is he pays the tax. He's quite happy to do that because other people are not as lucky as him and as fortunate enough as him to have a good job. So he's okay with that. But he's saying, well, then why don't you be okay with people taxpayers who pay money? But you're not one of them, by the way, at the moment.
I will finish the point, if I may.
Yeah, well, you have 60 seconds.
You have people there
40 seconds, actually.
who are now expecting the government to give them free IVF money to have a child.
Oh, God.
Is that right?
You're listening to Nighttime Talk with Niall Boylan.
With Recruit.ie. Download our job search app today. Search for Recruit.ie in your smartphone app store.
Ireland's classic hits radio.
Let's bring a fresh voice into this. Stay there, James and John. Damo, you're on Ireland's classic hits radio. How you doing, Damo?
Not too bad, Niall. Nice to speak to you.
You too. Go ahead.
Sorry, I don't know if it's my line or your line, Niall. What did you think of there? Sorry.
Okay, sorry, go ahead. You've been listening to John. He doesn't believe taxpayers should be paying for IVF.
Why not? Absolutely, why not?
Because it's not their responsibility, he said.
Yeah, look, I appreciate you having that.
Sorry, go ahead,
I
David.
appreciate you having that people like John on every now and again for the sake of entertainment and ratings. But as Angela and Eileen said earlier on, the guy needs to go and make a cup of tea and watch TV. He's an absolute clunker. He's talking about both sides of his mouth. I mean, he's saying it's not taxpayers' responsibility to pay for his kid. And if he had a kid tomorrow, he'd pay for himself. But I'd like to ask John, how is he going to pay for himself? According to him, he can't work. How is he going to pay for it?
The taxpayers' money.
Right. Niall, I'll answer that question now, right?
I'm glad you. I hope you will. Yeah.
As I said already, Niall, if I have a kid tomorrow, it's my responsibility to look after that kid and pay for that kid, not the taxpayer. Period.
And how are you going to do that, John, if you can't work?
Well, the point I can't work, but the point is,
But you just said you couldn't. You're on disability.
Tomorrow, I will pay for that kid.
But you just said you can't work. You're on disability.
I said I've applied for disability.
Yeah, but you're on the dole at the moment. Yeah. So because you can't work.
What I'm saying to you,
So you
Niall,
can work, can you?
there.
Okay, fair enough.
Niall, what I'm saying to you in that chat there is, if I put a child on the world tomorrow, it's my responsibility to pay for that.
But you're not
child.
answering his question. You're not answering his question. You're incapable, sadly, of working at the moment, according to your own testimony there. So if you put a child on this planet tomorrow or brought a child into this world, well, then you couldn't afford to pay for it.
Can I ask a second question there, John?
If I did, I would.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask you a second question there, John?
Well, I one at a time. Sorry, Damo, ask him the second question.
Why is it okay for the taxpayer to pay your way in life but not your child? You're talking out both sides of your mouth. Why is it okay for you but not your child?
And the child
What
doesn't
I'm
have the
saying
ability.
here is, what I'm saying here is if I have a child tomorrow, I will look after that child and pay for it. I don't have a child tomorrow, so I don't
why
have
can't
that
you look after
responsibility
yourself?
today.
Why can't you look after yourself and go get a job and look after yourself? If you're willing to do it for your child, why can't you do it for yourself?
The point
If that is your belief, if that's your core belief, why not do it for yourself?
No, hang on. The point I made earlier on is, and you can make it about me if you want, I don't give two shits at this stage. The point I'm making to you is, I am out there and I get a payment just to cover me living today, right? Now, number two is you have IVF treatment that costs a lot more than social welfare would cost today. And you would expect, you're a taxpayer, and I'm sure there's a lot more taxpayers out there tonight saying the same thing. Why would I pay for somebody else's child today or somebody else to have IVF treatment? Why should I have to pay for that? Can you answer me that one?
You already are. Taxpayers already are.
No, I'm asking you, can you answer me that one? Why should a taxpayer today have to pay for somebody else's IVF treatment to have a child? Why?
Because that's how we keep society going.
Not how. Why?
Why not? Can you tell me why not? Can you give me a good reason why not?
The point that, I'll tell you why. It's
Like,
not the
let's say for
children.
argument's
It's not the responsibility.
There's hundreds of thousands of people tuning in right now. Let's say for argument's sake, excuse me, yeah, everybody listening
It's not
calls
the
in right now.
responsibility. That's the point I'm making.
Okay, let him finish his point. He's talking to the hundreds of thousands. Go on.
let's say for argument's sake, anybody that's listening right now is going to text in and call and say, you know what, John, you're bang on. You're right. We all agree with you. Who should pay for it? Why is the taxpayer's responsibility? Like, why shouldn't we be helping each other out? Why the hell not? Until you're in that position that these women are in, you don't have an opinion. You don't have a right to have an opinion.
So you're telling me now that every taxpayer out there today, and I'm sure people, when I go to the shops, I pay taxes on whatever I buy. So I am a slight taxpayer if you want to find.
You're not really a. I've never heard that line. I'm a slight taxpayer.
The point is, Niall.
You, John, the money you're using to pay the 23% VAT on the stuff you buy in the shops, you're getting from the state. I'm not begrudging you that. Nobody's begrudging you that. But don't be a hypocrite.
Hang on, Niall. Hang on. I'm no hypocrite here on this.
Oh, you're the biggest hypocrite I've ever heard in radio in my life.
The point I'm making tonight, I've asked your callers there tonight.
Yeah.
And a lot of people there who are paying a massive amount of tax today, you're saying to them tonight, okay, here you go again, pay for another government scheme of IVF.
So it's not a government scheme. It's a healthcare scheme. But go on.
It's not going to pay for it.
Yeah, sorry, James, very quickly, because I've got 1 minute. Go, James. You want to say something there to him before I go? Because it's just entertaining.
Yeah, well,
really? How interesting.
John, I think first of all, when you say you're a taxpayer, you're not really. You're just giving the government back their own money.
No, I'm saying.
Hang on, John.
I find it quite ironic, John. Okay, you're very religious, aren't you?
He is quite religious. Yes, he is. He's a Christian.
Yeah, he's a Christian.
Yes, I am. No. Is there a problem with that as well?
all about compassion and helping your fellow man. And here he hears the spells and fuck him. He's on his own. He can why help the children?
So let me ask you this, if I may. Let me ask you this question, the whole lot of you, if I may. So everybody out there today has to pay for stuff out of compassion. Nobody has the right to say,
we do.
No, I disagree with
But hang on, I'll give you another example of where the taxpayer pays out of compassion. Let's say somebody dies and they're on their own and they don't have any money. The taxpayer pays for the funeral. You do know that, don't you? Is that okay? That's out of compassion. Let's say somebody has cancer and they don't have any money and they go to hospital. We don't give them a bill. The taxpayer funds that. That's compassion.
You see, now here's the problem.
For a Christian, you don't have a huge amount of it, but go on.
You say it's out of compassion, but did you ask, as I said, if I put this to a referendum tomorrow, how many taxpayers, I agree with paying for IVF.
Real people, real opinions, Real Talk Radio, the multi-award winning Niall Boylan Show.